That gown, a middle-of-the-road creation. The King family has always rejected anything average. During the opulent engagement celebration, the barbs struck the bride right in the center. As the groom merely managed a grin, refusing to stand up for her, the guests murmured, "A lowly girl reaching too far. She'll get tossed out before long." All assumed she'd lower her gaze, embracing her status as the intruder. Yet no one realized that one quick touch on her phone could instantly wipe out the $950 million deal the King family loved to parade. Isabella Torres remained poised in the ballroom's heart, her hands clasped neatly before her unadorned cream gown. The chandelier's glow highlighted the basic silver pin securing her dark locks, and her bare, makeup-free face appeared almost too gentle amid the sparkling elite. She wasn't their anticipated match, not for Nathaniel King of a vast real estate dynasty. Not for this chamber overflowing with riches and scorn. The event unfolded at the King family's vast residence, an expansive villa boasting marble flooring and walls edged in gold. Each attendee was a senator, CEO, or heir to ancient wealth, all armed with cutting remarks. Isabella held firm as their stares swept across her. She simply stood, gripping an untouched flute of champagne, her stance upright yet relaxed, like one trained to navigate tempests. Victoria King, Nathaniel's mother, glided over, her emerald dress shimmering like a peacock's plumage. At 55, her features were taut from procedures, her grin never touching her gaze. She halted before Isabella, her tone projecting for those nearby to catch. "Darling, that gown simply doesn't meet our level. Did you pick it up from a secondhand store?" Chuckles spread through the assembly. A gentleman in a custom suit bent toward his spouse, whispering, "She seems like she stumbled in from a transit hub." Isabella's grip on her glass tightened a bit, yet her expression stayed serene. She offered no reply. She had no reason to. Her quiet seemed to rile Victoria King, who pivoted to a nearby lady and remarked, "Picture my boy with such a plain soul." A lady in a slim black frock, her pearls shining, neared Isabella with a condescending grin. She was a far-off King relative, famed for her sharp quips at fundraisers. "Oh dear, you have to share your shopping spot. I need a good chuckle," she added, her tone laced with phony warmth. The cluster around her giggled, their looks sparkling with glee. Isabella placed her glass aside, her action unhurried, and met the woman's eyes. Her words were hushed, yet piercing like a dagger wrapped in velvet. "I shop at spots where folks don't purchase their self-assurance." The relative's grin stiffened, and several attendees fidgeted awkwardly, but the instant faded as another voice rang. "She's got guts, credit where it's due." The chuckles picked up again, but Isabella's gaze burned with unseen resolve amid the throng. Nathaniel lingered a short distance off, fiddling with his cufflinks, his striking features locked in a rehearsed beam. At 29, he was tall with the sort of allure that excused his overbearing ways. But he stayed put, uttering nothing to shield her. His glance darted to Isabella, then aside, as if ashamed of their link. The assembly observed. A lady with diamond studs and a forced cackle leaned close, her tone projecting. "She's obviously chasing his fortune." What other reason for his choice? Another attendee, a thinning man sporting a Rolex, snickered. "She lacks refinement." Nathaniel's slumming it. Isabella's lips parted as though words might come, but she sealed them once more. She eased her glass onto a passing server's tray, her motion measured and intentional. "Hey, before we dive deeper, if this tale is striking a chord, perhaps you've known that sharp pain yourself. Pull out your phone fast. Like this clip, add a note underneath, and tap subscribe to the channel. It truly matters to share these instances one, to navigate the hurt and emerge tougher." Okay, onward we go. The jabs kept coming. Adrian Cole, the King family's attorney, slipped in next, his oily smile scarcely masking his disdain. At 45, he had a chiseled chin and a way of speaking as if he ruled the space. Isabella, correct. If you truly cared for Nathan, you'd have offered something substantial. A ring bearing the Torah's name, perhaps. Oh, wait. Likely worthless. The assembly roared again, louder now, and Isabella's gaze met his. For an instant, the space hushed. She angled her head a touch, her tone gentle yet distinct. You appear quite certain about that. Adrian blinked, thrown off, but rallied with a sneer. Oh, sweetie, I spot a fortune hunter from a mile away. The phrase lingered, harsh and crude, as the attendees savored their murmurs, gaining audacity. A youthful fellow, just past his 20s, with combed back hair and a pricey timepiece, chose to pile on. He was Nathaniel's pal, always keen to claim his elite spot. Hey, Isabella, do you even grasp salad fork etiquette? He yelled, brandishing his own like a prize. The space erupted in guffaws, and he beamed, reveling in the spotlight. Isabella pivoted gradually, her stare fixing on him. She lifted a fork from the closest surface, spun it once in her grasp, and placed it down with a faint ting. I know plenty to dine without causing a fuss, she stated, her tone so composed it drained his swagger. The guffaws ebbed, and he averted his eyes, face flushed, but another voice swiftly filled the void with fresh mockery. Across the space, a lady in red, some heiress reeking of excess scent, bent to her companion. See her footwear. Worn down. She has no place here. Another tone, from a man with a garish tie and even louder bark, joined in. Nathan's mom will boot her before the vows. Isabella's palm grazed her tiny purse's rim, her digits halting there as if steadying her core. She avoided glancing at Nathaniel, now conversing with a cluster of gentlemen, his back turned. The space grew chillier, the atmosphere heavy with disdain. Victoria returned, her tone oozing mock sympathy. Sweetie, you must sense how misplaced you are. Why not perch in the shadows? Less obvious. Isabella's look lifted, resolute and unwavering. I'm perfectly settled right here, she replied, her tone subdued, yet solid. The space held its breath for a beat before the chuckles reignited. An elderly gentleman, a retired financier with a cane and a patronizing grin, took his turn. He lounged against a column, swirling his whiskey. You know, young lady, you're bold to remain there, but boldness won't earn you a chair at our board, he declared, his volume drawing stares. You're way above your station. Isabella's digits halted on her purse, and she faced him, her shift leisurely, nearly purposeful. She advanced near enough to make him squirm. Amusing, she murmured, her tone gentle but slicing. I always figured leagues suited folks too timid for the true contest. The financier's grin wavered, and some attendees swapped looks, unsure whether to chuckle or hush. Victoria's gaze sharpened, detecting an unwelcome change. The gathering stretched, and the barbs sharpened further. A youthful lady, perhaps Nathaniel's kin, with shiny lips and a vicious smirk, drew near. You know, Isabella, you're gutsy to arrive dressed like that. Most would have at least attempted effort. Her companion tittered, and Isabella's digits jerked as if to grab something, then restrained. She eyed the lady, her look serene yet probing. Attempted what, precisely? The query dropped like a rock, and the lady stumbled, her smirk fading. Before she regrouped, Victoria hoisted her glass, her tone slicing the buzz. To my sons tomorrow and a bride who'll grasp her station. The salute sparked cheers, but Isabella stayed rooted. She lingered, her expression blank, as if awaiting a signal. A server, youthful and jittery, stumbled past Isabella, his drink tray teetering. A nearby lady, swathed in pelts despite the mild night, barked a laugh. Easy, lad. Don't wreck her gown. It's likely her finest possession. The assembly chortled, and the server's cheeks burned as he stammered sorry. Isabella extended a hand, stabilizing the tray with a tender yet secure touch. She regarded the lady, her words just over a breath. It's not the gown that counts. It's who wears it. The server cast her a thankful look before dashing off, But the pelted lady merely scoffed, facing her pals. She's got some sass. I'll grant that. Isabella's lips thinned to a line, but she held her further words. Her gaze swept the space, as if etching every visage in memory. Long ago, a tiny girl perched on a wooden floor, her little palms outlining a book's borders. Her dad, a fellow with warm eyes and a firm tone, crouched beside. You don't have to yell, Isabella, he counseled, his palm on her shoulder. You don't need to demonstrate a thing. Simply exist. The recollection flashed as Isabella's eyes snagged a gleam from a vehicle gliding past the villa's panes. It matched the sedan her father once drove. Subtle, yet potent. She blinked, and the vision vanished, swapped by the party's hum and 100 stares' burden. The King family pressed on. Adrian, fueled by the throng, leaned close once more, his volume carrying. You know, Nathan, she's charming, but she's pulling you under. No lineage, no ties. Nathaniel chuckled nervously and scratched his nape. Ease up, Adrian. Cut her slack, but his phrase rang feeble, insincere, and the space sensed it. Isabella's jaw clenched briefly before she eased it. She angled a touch, her gaze surveying the throng like tallying every look, every tone. Then she uttered, her tone even. You speak volumes on ties. How much are yours truly valued? The query dangled, ignored, as Adrian's sneer dimmed. The assembly stirred restlessly, but none halted. They were too immersed in their sport. A lady with a luxury bag, her nails a vivid crimson, chose to intensify. She was a social butterfly famed for her social media boasts and skill at dismantling folks with a beam. Isabella, dear, do you even hold employment? Or are you just aiming to coast on Nathan's inheritance? The query sparked inhales and titters from the throng, and Nathaniel fidgeted, dodging her stare. Isabella's palm rested on a table's edge, her digits rapping once, twice, like a timer marking rhythm. She faced the lady, her tone level. I earn everything I possess. Can you claim likewise? The socialite's beam strained, and she flipped her mane, but the throng's titters grew hesitant, some swapping uneasy looks. Victoria seized the platform next, her voice thundering via mic. Let's discuss the King family's horizon. We've just locked a $950 million pact with Torres Global Tech, led by some elusive CEO who shuns the spotlight. She halted for claps, her gaze alight with triumph. That's the caliber of influence we deliver to this lineage. Not all can match pace. The slight was blatant, and the attendees laughed, their stares flicking to Isabella. She arched her brows faintly and raised her flute. A pact with who, exactly? She queried, her tone piercing the din. Adrian leaped in, keen to flaunt. Torres Global Tech, the nation's top tech empire. You wouldn't recognize them. Isabella's lips bent to a subtle arc, nearly unseen. She sipped her bubbly, and the throng overlooked it entirely, too fixated on ridiculing the knave bride. A man in a striped suit, a hedge fund boss notorious for hubris, opted to press harder. He neared Isabella, his tone booming and belittling. You know, I've encountered girls like you plenty. They believe they can slip into our realm, but they always flop spectacularly. He waved at the space like his domain. Isabella's gaze shifted to his, her face impassive. She delved into her purse, extracting a simple silver pen, and spun it in her fingers. Some of us don't require sneaking, she noted, her tone hushed yet firm. The man guffawed, but it rang hollow, and nearby attendees quieted, eyeing her intently. The pen snared the glow, and briefly, it seemed heavier than the space itself. The evening dragged, and Isabella glided through the chamber, like a specter, her aura subdued yet immovable. A man in a plush jacket jostled her, splashing his beverage. Watch yourself, darling, he barked, shoving past as if she were air. She retreated gracefully and placed her purse on a surface. Her digits hovered, grazing a small card within. A plain white business card bearing the Torres Global emblem. She left it tucked, had no need to reveal, but her gaze sparked with fresh resolve, a flicker of choice. The space ignored. They were too absorbed in laughing, too eager to dismantle her. But Isabella had finished biding time. The wedding arrived swiftly. The king estate morphed into a display of opulence. White roses bordered every walkway, and a huge canopy sheltered 1,000 attendees, all clad to dazzle. Isabella positioned at the altar, her gown plain yet refined, a gentle ivory that traced her form without demanding notice. No headpiece, no gems, merely her. The officiant launched the pledges, his tone firm, but Victoria rose, her visage a shield of outrage. Before my son commits, reveal how much riches your kin even boasts. The phrase boomed through the canopy, and the attendees burst in laughter. A lady in a plumed hat leaned in. Yeah, what value does she add? 0. Another tone, biting and nasty, appended. She's unfit for this lineage. A youthful lady, a style influencer with 1 million fans, drew her phone and snapped Isabella at the altar. This'll explode online, she announced loud for all. Caption: crashing a king wedding as a discount store discard. Her surrounding throng laughed, and devices clicked, seizing Isabella's every shift. She remained motionless, palms linked, but her gaze sought the influencer. Ensure you capture my best angle, she quipped, her tone wry yet stable. The influencer paused, her device dipping a fraction, but the surrounding laughs urged her onward. Isabella's digits smoothed her gown's hem once, a tiny act that seemed to root her amid the gale. Nathaniel shuffled in place, his stare jumping to his mom, then Isabella. Mom, you might be correct, he murmured, scarcely audible. The disloyalty pierced, evident in Isabella's digits clenching her palms. Victoria advanced, her tone booming and victorious. This union would tarnish our legacy. The attendees nodded, their murmurs swelling. She's a nonentity, one stated. Nathan merits superior, another tacked on. Isabella's gaze chilled like steel in moonlight. She didn't waver, didn't weep. She simply stood, her quiet outshining their barbs. A man in a bow tie, a tech titan who'd built startups into fortunes, bent to his wife, his tone spanning the canopy. I wager she's never entered a boardroom. He chuckled. Likely believes a merger's a diner menu item. The laughs rippled, and Isabella's palm froze mid-gesture as if to fix her gown, then ceased. She tilted her head faintly, her stare pinning his. I spot a lousy pact when it appears, she uttered. Her tone so faint it scarcely hit him, yet the words struck like an arrow. The Titan's chuckle choked off, and he glanced away, feigning phone checks. The throng missed it, too wrapped in their own jabs. Then she acted. She advanced, her heels tapping softly on the gleaming floor, and claimed the mic from the officiant. Her tone was serene, purposeful, like issuing a ruling. Thanks for revealing your real selves. This ceremony concludes now. The canopy burst in inhales and mutters. Nathaniel's face flushed crimson. How dare you shame me before all? He bellowed, lunging closer. Isabella held ground. I'm not fleeing, she stated, her tone glacial. I'm voiding it. The throng laughed, assuming she'd snapped from strain. She's deranged. A man grumbled. Wested her jackpot, faking dignity. A lady scoffed. Isabella ignored. She simply pivoted, her shift gradual and certain, and strode to the altar's rim. Victoria persisted. She advanced, her tone venomous. No estate, no wealth. You believe departing us signifies anything. Adrian, close by, smirked. Torres Global binds to that 950 million pact with King Group. Lacking us, she lacks prospects. Nathaniel chimed in, his tone sour. Without me, you're worthless. The attendees stacked on, their tones a cruel harmony. She's merely a flop feigning poise, one declared. Isabella's palm slid into her purse, her digits grazing her phone. She skipped their looks. Had no need. Her visage serene, her gaze intent like viewing what they couldn't. A lady in a sparkling frock, a property baron's spouse, added her bit. She rose, her wine flute aloft like toasting. To the girl who dreamed of our realm and failed, she proclaimed, her beam savage. The throng cheered, but Isabella's gaze flicked hers, and she tilted her head a shade. Some contests aren't worth claiming, she murmured, her tone so faint it nearly drowned in the din. The lady's flute shook in her grasp, and she dropped to her seat, swiftly, cheeks burning. Isabella's digits gripped her phone, her thumb poised over the display, a silent vow in her firm hold. She tapped a key on her phone, and the vast screen aft the altar sparked alive. A notice blazed, formal and stark. Torres Global Tech ends on 950 million packed with King Group over deceit and disdain. The canopy silenced. Adrian's color fled his face. Victoria's palm clutched her bosom, her gems flashing as she shook. Nathaniel slumped into a seat, jaws agape. The throng inhaled, their mutters frantic. What? She's Torres Global. Isabella advanced, her tone level unmoved. I require no such kin. I am Isabella Torres, the CEO, you derided. The declaration crashed like a mallet, and the space shattered in turmoil. Long ago, a teen Isabella sat in a conference room, her father leading the table. He passed her a pen, his tone unwavering. This firm is yours someday, Bella, but it's not mere might. It's integrity. She nodded, her youthful face grave, clasping the pen like a vow. Now in the canopy, her digits grazed that identical pen nestled in her purse. She left it hidden. Had no need. The recollection sufficed. The King family disintegrated. Victoria sank to her knees, her tone quivering. Pardon us. It was a mix-up. Reinstate the pact. Adrian, perspiring, advanced. We can rework terms. Just ignore our error. Nathaniel seized her palm, his tone frantic. I'm sorry. My love endures. Even the attendees reversed, their tones cloying with false praise. We've long respected you, one claimed. Isabella regarded them, her gaze remote, like peering beyond. She withdrew her palm from Nathaniel's clasp, her shift gradual and conclusive. She spoke nothing, had no need. Her quiet conveyed all. A rear man, a small King Group backer, sought to reclaim poise. He rose, his tone loud yet trembling. You believe you can simply exit and destroy us. You'll rue this. Isabella halted at the altar's edge, back to him. She angled her head enough for her profile to show. Regrets suit those who choose poorly, she stated, her tone serene, yet absolute. The man dropped to his seat, face ashen as panic's whispers rippled the throng. Devices hummed with alerts, market drops, headlines, the King Empire tumbling live. Isabella skipped looking back. She simply strode on, her pace firm, her purse snug under arm. She neared the mic anew, her tone rock, solid. Torres Global will shift the pack to your competitor firm. The phrase slammed like a blast. Devices buzz as alerts surged. King Group shares plunged. Attendees lurched up. Some fled the outlets. Their faces drained. Known wished links to a lineage freshly bankrupt. Headlines raced. Bride shamed. CEO retaliates. King realm falls. Isabella stood firm, palms linked, observing the disorder bloom. She skipped beaming, skipped crowing. She merely awaited, her aura dominating the space. Nathaniel persisted. He lurched upright, face contorted in fury. No one will ever genuinely cherish you, just your riches. He shrieked. You'll perish solitary, family, less. The barbs sliced the din, and briefly, the canopy hushed. A few aged foes in the throng nodded, their tones hushed. That icy CEO will never taste true joy, one grumbled. Isabella's digits paused on her purse, her gaze flashing with something visceral, something mortal. She replied not. She simply turned, her heels clicking as she headed for the outlet. A lady in silver, Victoria's old ally, tried a final sting as Isabella passed. You'll forever be solitary, regardless of your wealth. She snapped, her tone edged with despair. Isabella halted briefly and faced her. She reached into her purse and drew a small faded image, displaying it just long enough for the lady's view. A young Isabella beaming with her father. I'm never solitary, she stated, her tone gentle yet ironclad, before stowing the image and resuming her stride. The lady's face folded, and the throng hushed. Isabella's words, settling like silt. Then a man rose from attendee rows. Tall with raven hair and subtle poise, his suit simple yet crisp. The rival CEO, James Harper, of Harper Dynamics. He clasped Isabella's palm, his tone hushed yet distinct. "We didn't merely ink a pact. I aim to forge a true kin with you." The canopy erupted afresh, this time in shock and wonder's gasps. Isabella's gaze warmed briefly as she eyed him. She uttered nothing, but her grasp tightened in his. The throng parted as they exited together, cheers swelling, a tide of esteem and astonishment. Isabella entered a idling limo, the door sealing with a gentle thump, abandoning the King family amid their self-wrought debris. The backlash struck rapid. Victoria's elite circle shunned her, her gala bids gone by dawn. Adrian got dismissed by his practice, his name chained to the botched pact. Nathaniel's image blanketed rags, his standing ripped apart. One attendee, the red-dress lady, forfeited her posh brand, backing after her vicious words went wild online. The repercussions stayed subtle, undramatic. They were simply genuine, like gravity drawing a pebble earthward. Isabella skipped glancing back. She had no need. Her quiet now bore truth's heft. Long ago, a young Isabella stood in her dad's office, eyeing a framed snapshot of them. He'd embraced her, then murmured softly, "You're sufficient, Bella." Eternally. Now, as the limo rolled off, she peeked at James, his palms in hers. The snapshot had faded, but the warmth lingered, firm and cozy. She needed no words. She simply reclined, her frame easing for the first time that day. The globe spun on. The King family dimmed, their name a warning yarn. Isabella advanced, her firm mightier than ever, her days richer than any foresaw. She required no endorsement from them. Never did. And for all who faced disdain, scrutiny, or muting, her tale whispers a vow. You're sufficient. Eternally have been. The battle stays quiet. It's persistent, and it's yours. Where are you viewing from? Add a note below and tap follow to journey with me via sorrow, disloyalty, and ultimate mending.